Good evening. Tonight I have the honor of introducing our speaker for the evening, Mr. Julius Tangwe. Mr. Tangwe is in his 20th year at the Academy and has taught a number of courses here in the theology department. He's taught French. He's coached a number of activities, including soccer, basketball, and table tennis. In his spare time, he's an avid golfer, and he's a book reviewer for published books. Yet, when I asked Julius for a little biographical information for this introduction, he just shook his head at me and patiently said, "Come on, Brian, these people know me." I guess, though, that this is in line with the kind of person that I've come to know Julius as. The kind of man that writes on his whiteboard, "Meekness is not weakness," highlighting that there is strength in humility. There's strength in service, and there's strength in being a man for others. These traits are also evident in comments from Mr. Tangwe's students. Among them, Mr. Tangwe understands the path to leadership and develops the skill in each and every young man that walks through his classroom, through his personal stories and his enthusiasm. Mr. Tangwe has taught us to be humble and respectful and work hard on the field and in the classroom. Lastly, Mr. Tangwe cares about the development of his students as men. And he is the reason why I stayed at St. Thomas Academy. He helped me understand how blessed I was to be at this institution. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Julius Tangwe.
Thank you, Mr. Adel. Good evening, everybody. What an honor for me to stand here at this special moment for our community and for our boys. I stand here as a voice for the many dedicated faculty members here that give up everything for the well-being of our boys. I've always told people, if you are not inspired by young men, don't get into teaching and don't get into coaching. Gentlemen, congratulations. Stand up. Stand up. Let's acknowledge them. Thank you very much. I am a product of a Catholic school. I understand what Catholic school did to me. Gentlemen, you must have heard from me time and again that salvation is not perfection. Salvation is redemption. Everything that you take part in here at St. Thomas Academy is rooted in faith. It is a faith that has been tested and proven over generations. The Christian faith is not a myth. It's a living reality that day in, day out manifests itself in us. Your classroom life and any associative component of learning here at the Academy, in other words called co-curricular activities, is rooted and must be grounded in faith, without which we work for nothing. The faith is one that speaks to our inspiration and motivation, and that is heaven, without which we have no destination to go. However, to attain heaven, it's not an easy task. As you and I understand very well, Jesus Christ showed us a glimpse of heaven at the Transfiguration. As we got excited with the Transfiguration, Jesus reminded us that, sorry, you've not been tested and proven. There is a Gethsemane ahead of you. Gentlemen, you need to experience your Gethsemane and embrace it. It's very, very critical because at Gethsemane, you are tested and proven. At the Transfiguration, it's an illusion. And the Christian faith and the Catholic faith are not an illusion. Those who find the kingdom at the Transfiguration are those who take shortcuts. Those who find the kingdom at Gethsemane are those who do things for character. When you do things for reputation, people get hurt. The integrity of the process gets compromised and tainted, and people's characters could be ruined. We lose our authenticity and our genuineness in purpose. As you receive these awards today, be very happy, gentlemen. I'm very happy for you. There is a reward. You should reap the fruits of everything that you've cultivated. It hurts the heart. It hurts the mind. When you plant, you till the soil, you cultivate, yet you can't harvest. It hurts. So I'm very happy for you, and make sure that you are happy for all the things that you've earned. They add up to make you a better person. Gentlemen, today, you are joining a group of people that I will call slaves. I don't mean slaves in the sense of restrictive mechanism that puts people into deprivation and depriving them from contributive justice. I'm speaking of the slave to fulfillment, to the truth. Your wonderful parents, mom and dad, grandpa, grandma, all these dedicated teachers that you've been lucky to experience day in, day out, the great coaches that you've had in the past, hopefully those you have in the present, and the ones that you will have in the future. These are people that don't sleep when you don't learn well, or when you don't understand a game well, or an activity. They have become slaves to fulfillment, to make things better. The great scholar and theologian and doctor of the church, St. Augustine, wrote in his Confessions, quote unquote, "Restless is the soul until it rests in the Lord." I will equally tell you that restless is a loving heart until it finds true love. Equally so, restless is an inquisitive mind until it rests in truth and justice. What you are receiving today, gentlemen, is an acknowledgement. It's an award. It's not a reward. As we celebrate you, this is an award. The reward will only come when you put what you know into use. And the only way to put that into use is to make a positive difference in the life of at least one person. Be it a cadet, a fellow cadet, be it a sibling, your teacher, mom and dad. You are the one to reward yourself. This is just an award. The next thing I will remind you, gentlemen, is that you are now the lighthouse. You are a huge number. Somewhere, people who make a difference and transform communities don't have this much of a number. Think of the lighthouse. When there wasn't a lighthouse, what happened to ships? When the light goes out in the lighthouse, what happens to ships? With the lighthouse on, you can imagine how much The ships are helped and lives are saved, cargo saved. Gentlemen, you've become the lighthouse of this community, and you should be. You don't need to be big or strong to make a difference in your community. There is one thing very special about the lighthouse: its towering presence and domination over an environment. Gentlemen, when you are men of character, you can tame an environment without conquering that environment. The great conqueror Caesar once told us that I came, I saw, I conquered. But in our faith, we don't say that. We say we came, we belonged, we participated. Yes, that is how you change places. Be a lighthouse around the locker rooms, in the hallways, in the cafeteria. Other kids are looking at you. All these wonderful teachers, they still look at you to see how you carry yourself and how you behave. Mom and dad, grandpa, grandma are looking at you at home. Gentlemen, you've become the lighthouse with all the award that you are receiving this evening. Another point, I was lucky to join the cadets, to take a few cadets down to Uganda in 2010. We went there for service work. And in the course of that, we took a break to visit the Nile. And we drove up to Murchison all the way to the southern part of Sudan. It was incredible to see the power of the Nile. But at its source in Jinja, is just a very small stream, and so is the mighty Mississippi River. I want you to ask yourselves, gentlemen, how did these rivers become so powerful? They start at such a small source. What made them become so big? One, they pick up water on the way, every water that they could find. Two, they flow within banks. Any water that doesn't flow within banks is destructive to the environment. You have to flow within banks, gentlemen. And those banks are nothing but the Christian values that the school imparts on you. When you don't walk within your banks, you lose your power. You become a destructive element to the environment. Think about those rivers and ask yourself, can you grow that way? A lot of wisdom from your wonderful teachers, grandparents and parents, friends, very good friends. Many of you will be good teachers to each other. Make sure you learn as much as you can. There is no classroom for life except a life for school. You have to be an ongoing learner. Gentlemen, the earth is round or somewhat spherical, as we say, but the world, the human world, is flat. The human race is linear and it is elastic, it's not static. The mind was not built to figure out ordinary things. The mind was built to do great things. There is nothing that has been invented in this world that was not invented by the mind, except it was created by God. Your mind was meant to do great things. No matter how small you start, you need to challenge yourselves. When you look at the forces of geography, the winds, the ocean currents, diseases, terrorism, economic setbacks that affect our shores but started elsewhere, it should tell you something as a young Christian and a young scholar that the world is flat. Technology, we are more exposed to each other than before. Why would you limit your brain to think just about our immediate community here or Minnesota, or it's just the United States. I was once sitting in the classroom like you. I never ever dreamed that I would be here overseas. I never. But for some mysterious reason, life forced me to be here where I've spent the last 20 years. You can imagine how painful that could be if I didn't understand that human life is linear and elastic. Gentlemen, don't limit your brains, don't limit your heart, don't limit anything that you have in terms of gift and talent. You have to think big, you have to think large in whatever field you are doing. Nothing in this world operates without a shell. Whether it's the smallest seed that you are planting, our planet Earth is enclosed in a sheet of energy that defends it from the sun. The brain has a net inside that holds it together before it touches the skull. Everything has a shell. You and I, our daily lives are covered by one important shell, and that shell is called grace. Without God's grace, whatever thing we do, we won't find purpose. It won't be authentic, it won't be genuine. At the time that Jesus Christ came, John the Baptist was not the only prophet at that time. I hope the scripture teachers don't hold me for this. There were other prophets, but John was the only prophet who heard God's voice after he baptized Jesus Christ. We know those famous words. Here is my beloved Son, in whom I'm well pleased. What made John hear those words? John had more grace in what he did. People will hurt you. The world is not fair. Our environment is not fair. And that is why we are called to justice. And gentlemen, Christian education is geared towards the truth, should be grounded in the truth, and that is where you have to direct yourself and transform whatever community that you go to. Let every one of you shine like the eagle we know. May you find God's grace. Thank you.